Welcome to this episode of 50-Second Film Feels Sonic 3. The wait is over. Are people gonna like this better than the first or second one? Are fans gonna like this better than Sonic 1 and 2? I gotta say, I can remember a time where I liked the third one better than the first two, and it was all the way back to yesterday when Dunkin' Donuts messed up my first two drinks. The first one had like goat milk or something like that. The second one had like soy sauce or like walnut curdle or something like that. All I know is they both tasted like baby formula from a bottle. And then the third one was good. The third one they got right. And Sonic 3, they got this one right. I'm telling you. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. It was so good. This movie was fire. Starting with what I liked most, at the opening, they had like an 8-minute countdown where we all had to watch these behind-the-scenes clips and interviews with the cast. That, I don't think I've ever seen that done before, and it was pretty dope. The action literally never slowed down. When you're making something, I understand, geared mostly towards kids, you need to keep their attention. So the pacing was on point 100%. Never slowed down because you're not going to want anybody to get bored, especially kids, so they really had to keep it going, and they did. Only downside to that is when you're expecting a giant battle at the end, like we usually do with superhero movies and Dragon Ball Z and things like that, it's hard to have a real epic end battle when there's already so much of it going on beforehand, but it worked. It really did work. I thought that Robotnik was so good. Obviously, he's playing both characters, himself and his grandfather. You do get to see his acting abilities most of the time, but when you can do that, and then he even jokes about it, like in the movie, they have this like reference, meta reference. When they break the fourth wall, it was a little Deadpool-y, where they're like, it's almost like we're playing two characters in a movie, but the same actor. And they kind of like address us. I'm like, all right. They get one joke like that. That's cool. They did a really good balance between the joking and the seriousness. I mean, I know Sonic, it's just his character. He's not cracking a joke every time, but everything he says is kind of like, The next thing I have to say that I like the best, I was absolutely losing my mind at the mid-credit scene and the post-credit scenes are. No spoilers because I don't spoil, but you're gonna love it, especially if you're a diehard Sonic fan. Even though the movie was funny and it had such a good pace, like I said, there was still that element of seriousness, especially with Shadow's character and, giving us his whole backstory. He's been frozen up for 50 years and what happened to him, and he's just like always going on about his like sadness, and it's this whole kind of like revenge story. So you'll get all these Easter eggs if you're a Sonic fan and you know all the lore and everything like that. So I was so happy when I saw Jessica Jones, aka Kristen Ritter. I know it's the other way around, but I freaking love her. I have to say the only real downfall of this movie for me was like the human characters. I'm like, I wasn't really feeling much for them, and I know it wasn't their story. Also with Robotnik, it was almost a little more of his story than Sonic's, so you almost kind of forgot that Tom and Maddie were even in the movie, and I think this was definitely something that has to be seen in the theater. I mean, it's one of those things where it's so overpowering and fun and just a good time. It was a really good time. I love Knuckles so much. I think he's my favorite character. He's freaking hilarious too. There's this one part when they can't get something to work and he's just like, oh, try punching it. It's like such a Knuckles thing to say, but it's hilarious.